Warning. The following program contains flashing imagery and content which may be considered harmful or traumatizing to some. Viewer discretion is extremely advised. Welcome to the darkest depths. On April 9th, Robert Fisher, a church-going father of two, had spent the day caring for patients at Scottsdale's Mayo Clinic, where he worked as a respiratory therapist. At the end of his shift, he picked up his 12-year-old daughter, Brittany, and drove her to the National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony, where she was to be honored for her outstanding academic achievements. During the ceremony, Robert grew impatient, and the two left before Brittany could collect her certificate. Meanwhile, Fisher's 38-year-old wife, Mary, had accompanied the couple's 10-year-old son, Bobby, to gun safety class. When Mary returned home that evening, neighbors had reported that they heard the Fishers arguing loudly. At 10:43 p.m. that night, Robert was seen on ATM surveillance, where he withdrew $280 with his wife's car in the background. In the pre-dawn hours of the following morning, the family's quaint three-bedroom South Scottsdale home erupted in a violent explosion so intense that it blew out two brick walls and left the entire home engulfed in flames. When the smoke cleared, the firefighters made a grisly discovery among the charred remains. 3 bodies, each lying in a pool of blood, and each still lying in their beds as if they were asleep. Mary Fisher was found in her bed, shot in the back of the head, and her throat slit almost down to her spine. They entered Brittany's room to find her in bed with her throat slashed from ear to ear. Bobby had suffered the same fate as his older sister. Mysteriously, Robert Fisher was nowhere to be found. Police confirmed that a number of his possessions were missing, including clothing and his .38 caliber revolver. Fire investigators would later learn that the explosion was caused when Robert unhooked a gas line, placed a candle on a table nearby, and poured fire accelerant down the hallway of the home. 10 days later, police discovered Mary's SUV on a dirt road 150 miles north of the valley at a trailhead located in the Tonto National Forest. Curled up beneath the vehicle was Robert's beloved dog, Blue, who was dehydrated and covered in pine needles. Despite this, a sewer camera that was set up in the area had captured no trace of Robert anywhere, and this led police to conclude that Robert left the car and the dog at the site as a red herring before ditching them both. And with that, Robert Fisher disappeared without a trace. Police believed that the motive behind the murders was that Mary was set on divorcing her husband, and Robert did not want his children to go through what he had as a child. So he slit their throats and set them on fire. Aside from periodic unconfirmed sightings of Fisher, the abandoned vehicle in the forest remains the last piece of evidence uncovered in the case. And despite a long and intensive manhunt, what remains of one of the most notorious family murders in Arizona history is the enduring mystery of what actually happened that April 9. Some even wonder if Robert Fisher is even still alive after all these years. Today, Robert Fisher, once a portrait of a church-going family man, remains the sole suspect in the murders and is on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous, and has ties to Florida and New Mexico. It is possible Robert Fisher has assumed a new identity, and he has been described as a loner who would possibly live in an isolated area. The case remains open to this day. Thank you for watching Darkest Depths. Follow on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for the absolute worst that humanity has to offer in true crime and horror. Merchandise available through teespring.com. Episode requests made through darkestdepths2crime@gmail.com.